response is, glory to you, O Twink. Response?
Glory to you, O Twink.
A reading from the acknowledgements from Twink Unzipped. Twink Unzipped. Which are in fact 10 pages long. The acknowledgements, yeah, I know, right? My profound love and thanks to the gay community of Ireland for your love and support, not to mention countless impeccable impressions of me over the years. The Sacred Heart lamps under my pick. Ha! One of my all-time favourite gigs was that night in the George. Your pink pounds spent in all my shows have bought many pair of fab pink shoes for me and my gals. ... Lol. I love you all with all my heart and soul. Stay strong and proud, y'all. And remember, nil illegitimi carborundum. Don't let the bastards grind you down. You rock. XXX. Response?
Glory to you, O Twink.
A reading from Fur Coat, No Knickers. In the end, I decided against my separation idea in favour of a more punishing form of revenge. The decision underpinning my sudden U-turn stemmed from a group skiing lesson we took under the guidance of a gorgeous instructor called Willy, pronounced Villy in Austrian. I was in very good shape at the time, and immediately Willy took a shine to me. Even though I was an accomplished water skier, thanks to my love of Lake Mead during the Vegas years. I was very much a novice when it came to skiing on snow. I was really struggling, and even though I've always been a quick learner, a group setting has never suited me. Being an only child, I think I always had a tendency to learn better when I was on my own. Eventually, Villy gave me a private tutorial. And within an hour, I'd picked up everything I needed to know. Within 2 days, we were skiing across the mountains together at tremendous speed. Like Olympians. Now, girls, I won't lie, there was some wonderful off-piste action as well. On one occasion, we stopped for a beer. Our tryst started with a kiss. Doesn't everything? That day, Villy and I skied off on our own, and let's just say that while the snow might have been cold, the passion was sweltering hot. One night, he invited me to a bar where he and his fellow ski instructors were meeting for a drink. Some of the other instructors were female, and as I come to know them all quite well, I knew I wouldn't look out of place. Earlier that evening, David and I had brought the girls out to dinner. I genuinely thought he was going to use this opportunity to apologise to the girls and me for all of the pain that he had caused, and to remember, and to maybe to thank us for taking him back. Not a chance. He was in full-flight arrogance mode, and his attitude was more like, she's taking me back. When we returned to the hotel, I told him that he was on babysitting duty because I was going for a drink with Villy and his friends. He was visibly taken aback by my rather blunt demand, and by God, I can tell you his jaw nearly hit the floor. And I sternly reminded him that permission was not something I needed from him, particularly considering how he had not thought mine throughout our entire marriage. He asked me what time I would be home, to which I rather nonchalantly replied, no idea, when it suits me. Wearing a gorgeous tiny black dress, no underwear, a fox fur coat, and fuck me shoes. I joined Villy for drinks and ended up having the most fantastic, wild, guilt-free, full-pleasured, passionate night in Villy's bed. At the end of the night, I was gathering my things together before I returned to David and the girls. I had the most randomly marvellous idea. Folding up my tiny little slip of a black dress, I placed it in a bag along with my jewellery. I then put on my high heels, my fur coat, and absolutely nothing else, before getting into a taxi back to our Alpine Lodge. I was in brilliant shape at the time, so my confidence was soaring. Where am I? When I opened the door to the suite, I tried not to recoil from the strong smell of cigarettes that greeted me. David was standing out on the balcony, looking as though he'd been crying for 3 hours straight. He had been frantically worried and threw a litany of questions at me. Where were you? Why weren't you home earlier? Who were you with? One swift response answered them all. That's none of your business, darling. Just like you felt it was none of my business to know where you were all of those nights. I stayed up pacing the house. Just be content to know that I've had a wonderful, wonderful night. In fact, I'm hot just thinking about it. And with that, I casually threw off my fur coat, stood stark naked in front of him before kicking off my high heels and heading off to bed with the words, "Night, night, dear." Fucking hell, his expression was priceless. Response? Right, we'll just do another little one here now. A reading from the letter to Vincent Hanley. It was early 1987 when I first noticed Vincent Hanley had become quite thin. He just seemed so small and cold inside his big parka jacket, but then New York is known for its biting winter freeze, so I gave it no more than a passing thought. A few weeks later, however, David called me into the room where he was watching Vincent on MTUSA. "What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you look at him?" he asked. I took one look on the screen, and I think my heart skipped a beat with the shock. Rock Hudson. Oh my God, he started to look like that picture of Rock Hudson. 2 years earlier, while Dave and I were on holiday in Marbella, we had brought a newspaper that carried the headline, "Rock Hudson Dies." The Rock Hudson everyone knew was outstandingly handsome, but that wasn't the picture that accompanied the headline. In this particular photograph, his cheeks were concave, his eye sockets sunken, and his emaciated frame left him looking like a completely different person. As I looked at Vincent on the television screen that evening, I could see that there was now a frighteningly distinctive similarity between him and that final picture of Rock Hudson. I looked at David. He couldn't have the dreaded... Could he? "Looks like it's me," came the reply that confirmed my fear. When Vincent arrived home from New York, he phoned me from St. James's Hospital. I visited him the first chance I got, and even today, I vividly remember the shock he was trying to disguise when I saw him. He was a shadow of the vibrant man I had known and loved. To be honest, he looked wretched. When he left hospital a few days later, he went to stay with his mother in the countryside. The word AIDS was never mentioned once. It was seen as a very closeted, tawdry word. So instead, the condition was always quietly referred to as blood disorder or secondary problems associated with pneumonia. Within a matter of weeks, Vincent was back in hospital again. He was suffering from chronic eczema at the time, and when I visited him, he wouldn't even let me hug him. "Don't want you catching this," he laughed. We both knew it was the last time we were going to see each other, and I can still remember sitting in that hospital room trying to fight back the tears while we chatted. His attitude was fatalistic. He was talking about how we had so much to live for. Life is so short and precious, and how it should be lived to the full. We've had some great laughs together. "Do you remember doing that DJ skit on Castle Blackjack?" he reminisced. "How about that lunch in London with yourself and Charles? You two had me crying with laughter," I replied. "I love to hear you tell that story. I hope you think of all the other great memories, and they make you smile whenever you think of me." We looked at each other, and we both wanted to cry, but for each other's sake, we held back from doing so. We were such good friends, and we created so many great memories over the years that it was hard to believe that there would be no more on the horizon for us to share. A few days later, 18th of April 1987 to be exact, I received a phone call from Bill Hughes. Adele, Fab Finney's gone. Listen, you stupid fucking dickhead. I just had the herald on and found out that your whore dropped yet another bastard for you last night. Now let me tell you what a dreadful night I just had with poor Naomi. She was praying that your whore wouldn't drop the bastard on Valentine's Day. Apparently, that meant an awful lot to her, but that wouldn't happen. Chloe was hoping to God it wouldn't happen before her night in the point. But of course you, with your impeccable timing, and your whore, with equally impeccable timing, had to manage, yet again, to fuck up your children's lives. I see, if I was there yet, I'd smack the fucking face off you for not doing anything for your girls on Valentine's Day, given that your slut was ready to drop your bastard. Now, I see one picture of you and that ugly whore in the paper with yet another bastard. Listen to this, you fat, bald, middle-aged dickhead. You will never see your daughters again. Never. They have suffered enough pain, enough hurt, enough misery with a prick like you for a father. If I see you flaunting yet another bastard when you have the time to love your beautiful girls, you will never see them again. Put your Mickey back in your trousers. What are you trying to prove, you stupid fuck? Everyone's laughing at you. You heard what people say? You heard what people down in the streets in Limerick say about you to me? You're a fucking idiot. You need to zip up your Mickey, get your rebrain, dry your hair, and stop acting like a stupid middle-aged prick. With your nappies and your Ray-Bans. What are you like? One picture, and you don't see those girls again. Dickhead. I hope you and your bastard and your whore rot in hell.
Response?